everyone, and welcome to Club 3, episode 27 of Rolling in the Isles, an FM20 British Isles Journeyman series with me, the United City FM. So, on the face of it, not a lot has improved in terms of our league position is still 13th in the Premier League. You can remember last episode we were on the back of a very long 5-match losing streak, and we continued that losing streak into a 6th match against Aston Villa in circumstances that were a bit unfortunate, really. I made some choices and I stand by them just because I wanted to try something different, but it didn't quite work, didn't quite go as I wanted it to. But anyway, so things in theory haven't changed an awful lot, but actually the mood in the club has changed quite a lot. And how that's happened is a couple of things have happened. One, we got a fairly straightforward win in the FA Cup against Barnsley, and what I did was I took that rotated 11 from the Villa game and challenged them to play the Barnsley game and to put in a better performance. And they managed it, basically. That led us into the top of the table, Arsenal. If you remember quite early in the season, we lost 2-0 to them. Where is it? It's there. At the beginning of October, we lost 2-0 to them. And this time round, we got a very, very credible 0-0 draw. It was an absolutely heroic performance. We sat in our deep structured formation and tactic and didn't really venture out too much, but soaked up the pressure and put our bodies on the line and all sorts. It was utterly heroic, and I was so impressed by the way that they played. So we built them up. I then came out of that sort of structured game and went back into our asymmetric style of play, against Bournemouth, hoping that we would just have a little bit more of the ball. And there's something that I changed in that structure of play as well. We went to a controlled possession rather than, I can't even remember what we were doing before. Was it wide? I think it was wide play, custom wide play or something. We went to a controlled possession and we did quite well. We kept the ball very nicely, but we couldn't quite find the quality on the end of it to get a goal to nick the game. But I wasn't unhappy with the way the Bournemouth match went. It was just a little bit unfortunate we couldn't find the occasional bit of quality. So that brings us to Chelsea for today. If we go click on this particular match, you can see Chelsea is 6th in the table, we're 13th. So they're just on the edges of the top 6, as it were, the big 6. So they're not maybe as good as they sometimes have been in the past. But nonetheless, it's going to be a really hard task for us. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to sit in our deep formation again. We're going to counter a custom fluid counter-attack, which worked against Arsenal and has worked against, I think it was Man United earlier in the season, got us a 0-0 draw there as well. And the other thing that I've done in this formation, again in the Arsenal match that worked, and so we've just been paying a little bit more attention to the minutiae detail, is that I've picked the better players for the positions that I want them to play. So you can see Joku and May are sitting in those holding roles, rather than if you switch Silas in there, for example. He's a decent player, but he doesn't play that role very well. And so we've put Joku and May. We've taken Martinez, who usually sits in the attacking midfield role, out of the side and put Silas in. The reason Silas is in and not Vera is because Vera's coming back from an injury and I just want to protect him a little bit. The only position in this setup that we don't really have a natural person for is on this wide left. Both our attacking wingers are just that. They play out on the attacking wing. I thought about putting Target in this position and bringing in our other left back, Cooper, to play left back, but actually it didn't offer me anything. Both of the two fullbacks, once you get past the wing back option, aren't as good again. So it just meant that I decided to stick with Loku Doku out there. But long term, if we were to keep this formation going and use it in rotation with others, maybe in the transfer window we need to find one player that can play that position and put him in the squad. I've got one iron in one fire for the transfer window. Nothing has happened to this point. It's been really, really hard to find any quality at all to add to this squad. But the one piece of quality I'm trying to bring in is another option on our wide right wing, and that's because this guy is one of them. And you can see at the age of 31, he came up with us from the Championship. I don't know much about him, to be honest. I'm sure he's a firm Derby County favourite. Let's see how long he's been there for. He's been there for several years, so I'm sure loads of Derby County fans love him. But just in terms of where we find ourselves, he's now not good enough for where we are. So I want to get him out of the club and bring a slightly better option down this right-hand side, so that when Noel isn't playing, we've got a much better backup system for him. So that's one that I'm working on. It's close, but we'll have to wait till next episode to see whether I can get that one over the line. But other than that, at the moment, I am really struggling to find quality in the transfer window. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I need to tell you about. You can see that we've got a couple of injuries. Guilbert is still out for quite some time. He's got another 6 weeks, unfortunately, from his 2 or 3 month layoff. Murphy is the guy that we're trying to get out of the club. He wouldn't have played today, but he's out for a couple of days. Vera just coming back, as I say, so we just want to protect him a little bit. So the other thing to say is that the reason Ida is on the bench rather than in the match is that Audrin plays purely because, as I said earlier, I'm trying to find the better players in the positions that I want them to play for this particular tactic. And Audrin plays the deep lying forward really well, and that's what I want to play in this setup. So that's why Audrin is in. Calculated risks again. I would normally put Ida in. He's by far my better, more consistent striker, but just at the moment in this particular formation, I want to find the best way of playing it with the players that we have, and I think this works. So in terms of the team for today, we have Bazunu in goal, Matheson at right back, Target at left back, Story and Harwood-Bellis in central defence, with Joku, May and Silas in central midfield, with Null on the right, Lokudoku on the left and Audrin up top, with a bench of Portas, Cooper, Vera, Martinez, McCowan, Murray and Ida. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So I've gone with, we've got nothing to lose. We know how good we are. Let's go and show everybody how good we are. This is undoubtedly going to be another challenge. And although it worked against Arsenal recently, we could quite easily get battered by Chelsea. But we'll have to give it a good go. And that's not giving it a good go. Giving them options like that when we are in our defensive area is not a good way to start, is it really? And it just put us under the cosh and a little bit under pressure too early in the game for my liking. But we just about escaped with that one and regained our composure and sorted it out. But we have to stamp out those individual errors. It's interesting that defensively we're doing quite well. I think we're ranked about 8th in the Premier League for our defensive record in terms of the goals conceded. It's attacking wise in terms of scoring the goals that apparently we're losing ground on our rivals, as it were. A reasonably good attempt by De Jong there from the free kick, but it didn't really trouble the goalkeeper. He was able just to watch it drift by the post. But yeah, so it's apparently our striking that's letting us down, although I think that our general play is reasonable most of the time. So Noel on the free kick for us, far post, headed clear, and Chelsea get an opportunity to break with Fabio Silva straight down the middle. Can we put a stop to his run? He runs, you could see the goal open up as he drifted left. The goalkeeper drifted with him and left all of that side of the goal, far side of the goal open, and he just had to slot it in the middle of the goal, really. Very, very disappointing in terms of the goalkeeping there and the structure of defence as he attacked us. Nobody was able to go with the run enough and block his run, which was disappointing. And Chelsea go 1-0 up after 22 minutes. It's been coming a little bit. You can see in terms of the match stats for today's game that they are in control of it a little bit more than maybe we would like. But this is just the way it is. These are the really big sides in the Premier League, and if we can find a way to keep it to 1-0 till half time and then reinvigorate the side a little bit, maybe we can come out and do something in the second half. But we're not going to shift from this structured pattern just at the moment. If we go 2-0 down, then we'll have to come out a little bit and see what we can do. But just at the moment, through till half time, I'm happy to try and suppress them and continue to suppress them and see if we can go in at the minimum 1-0 down and see what we can do about it. But they're patiently building up from the back. You can see they're pushing their defence into our half as well and really pushing and squeezing the space. Hopefully that helps on a counter-attack potentially at some point if they continue to do that, but not on that occasion because their attempt went over the top of the bar. and we are just heading into half time. It's not a bad first half, really, is it? I think we've got to take the encouragements when we can find them. We didn't have a shot on target, which was disappointing, and 39% possession, which, you know, in the circumstances, perfectly fine. So what are we going to say to them to change anything? I think we're going to remain calm. We're not going to put too much pressure on them. Let's see. I know we're underdogs here, but go out there and give the performance to cheer for. Let's do that. It created a stress in Matthew Targett, which is unfortunate, but we can always take him out of the game later and bring on our Gavin Cooper, our other left fullback. So we could do that if we wanted to. But just at the moment, I think it's all right. I think I'll probably leave it there. I could sort of push in these a little bit, but I'm concerned that I might get that slightly wrong at this point and lose a little bit of what we've got. And there's a little bit of motivation there. So we're just going to let it run for a little while longer. And there's always the danger that we're going to go 2-0 down, but there's always that danger anyway. Come sort of substitution time, about 65 minutes, if we're still in this position, I'm tempted to come out a little bit and see whether we can gain anything. Because otherwise, what's the point? Because at this point, we are 1-0 down anyway. So let's go into the tactics page. We're going to change back into this asymmetric way of play. And we're going to bring May off. And we're going to bring Martinez on to play that role. And we're going to bring Aldrin off and bring Ida on up top. Just because I think, you know, he's definitely the better striker. And then we've got one more sub to make. And Noel is one that's doing the worst in terms of the average ratings today. So we're going to bring Noel off and put McCowan on down that right-hand side. Remember, that's the position that I want another option for in our squad that I'm working on. So come back next episode and see whether we get that. But those are the changes that I've decided to make. And we're now using the controlled possession style in this. And we'll just see if we can find a way to keep the ball for a little while. And then we'll come into the shouts and tell them to get creative. And just see if we can suppress the game a little bit. Silas picked up a knock immediately having made the subs. That's always the way it is. Suppress the game a little bit and then have one chance maybe. Can we nick the ball from them and build up a structured opportunity that gives us a chance? Or are they going to catch us in the last few minutes of the game and go 2-0 up? It's probable, I guess, that that's likely to happen. But at this point, as I say, when you're 1-0 down, we've got nothing to lose. People don't expect us to beat Chelsea. So we'll just come out and see. And it looks like the time's drifting away. I think we did pretty well today. I'm quite happy with that kind of performance. I think that we were quite well suppressed by Chelsea in a lot of ways. But in the end, I think to lose 1-0 against them in the Premier League after the run of games that we've had, I don't think that's too bad. The only problem, of course, is that puts us to about 8 games in the league where we haven't actually recorded a win. We got our recent win in the FA Cup. So let's come in here and say, unlucky boys, just leave them motivated by that. And yeah, that's the only problem, that we've continued our run of not winning a match, unfortunately. And so we are just drifting a little bit too far down for my liking. We do have a game in hand, though, over the teams immediately above us. And if we could win it, it puts us in around this 27 mark again, which would put us in 12th, 13th kind of place. So that's not too bad at this point of the season. We've just got to arrest this slide slightly and find a way in the Premier League to get a bit of a win. We've got West Brom coming up in the FA Cup in the next round of the FA Cup. They're in the Championship currently. So that's a decent team for us to be playing in the FA Cup. Then we've got Watford, Leicester United, Everton and Palace coming up in the next month. And there's some tricky games in there, but it's the likes of Watford and maybe even Palace and Everton that we should be looking to try and get something from. Leicester, Man United might be a little bit harder than that, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. So what we're going to do in terms of the game that we're going to come back for, we are going to come back for the Crystal Palace game at the end of February. And by that point, all of the transfer dealings will be done. I'll let you know whether I did bring that player in or not. I'll just give you a little sneak peek at him because it's this guy, Eric Scott, plays for Bayern Munich at the moment, doesn't really play for them too much, is rated at just under £20 million, but they're releasing him for 9.75. He's not really getting much game time. Now, there's lots of gaps in his mentals. I do see that. But the great thing about him is what I want him to be able to play is on this central midfield line, and also mostly as a winger, as an inverted winger. And you can see that for that position, he's done pretty well in terms of what he's got in terms of attributes. So I think we've got a reasonably good player there. I hope that he'll come in, but we'll just have to wait and see. But he's a definite upgrade on Murphy, who we would be getting out of the club. And that's all you can continue to do sometimes, is just find those incremental better players and bring them in when possible. What have we got? Silas is out for a few days, so that's not too bad. So yeah, that'll do it for today. A little bit disappointing in terms of the fact that we've recorded another loss, but it came off a couple of reasonably good draws. We're sitting roughly where we were previously, but still above where the expectation was this season. So all the time that that's the case, I'm not complaining in the slightest. Come back for the next episode, see how we've got on in the month of February, see if we've managed to pick up any points. But until then, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Click that like button on this video if you haven't already, and help me get seen by lots of other people. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.